Big game coverage live from Los Angeles. Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, Nearside App, Texas Cheer Liquor, and Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds.
It is the Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250, 103.3 FM. He's Joe Reinagel. I'm Jason Minix. Our AA Best Bail Bonds big game coverage continues from Radio Row in Los Angeles. We talk to her every Tuesday at this time.
Yeah.
Now we get her in person. Charean Williams from Pro Football Talk. Saw you at dinner last night at a very cool spot in L.A., and that's always the cool thing. It's like, here, you never know who you're going to see, and it's like, there's Mother Football. She's right there.
Yeah, it's funny. You do run into a lot of different people. Had a guy sit down next to me, and turns out he's a friend of Clarence Hill's, who I work with forever at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. So it's a small world, and you realize that when you get to the big city and see people from way far away.
All right, Charean, what did you have? Because we've all been talking about our meals. I had the smothered pork chops. They were delicious.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
I had the chicken tenders, which were outstanding, and some coleslaw to go with that, and some of their biscuits. That was a good place.
It's a good place, isn't it?
It really was. I ate the night before. I ate the best Chinese food I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
Yang Chow.
Okay.
Put in a plug for Yang Chow. It's about a mile from here in Chinatown.
Okay.
Outstanding. Unbelievable.
Oh, we got to
food.
put that on the list.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Yang Chow is going
Chow.
on the
Yang
list.
Chow.
Because I think tonight we're going to Tony's in Redondo Beach.
Okay.
Which I think we've been there before, being out here for Cowboys training camp. And we always, the last night before we leave, go to L.A. for the night, just because it's easier than trying to drive to LAX from Oxnard.
Yeah.
But I think we've been to Tony's or near Tony's, but in that area, I think it was where we're going tonight.
You say food is very important to us.
It's very important to me, too. I haven't decided on dinner tonight. There's a lot of good places around here, though.
With the place we were at last night, go again.
Yeah.
Just get something different.
But I think the Lakers play here tonight, right?
Yeah,
so it's going to
be a little crowded down here.
Well, they play the Bucks, so that's a big game tonight.
Yes, very big game.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. All right, we were talking earlier with Rudy about the Hall of Fame. Did we just bypass the 5 years for Tom Brady and put him in on Sunday?
Well, he talked yesterday about maybe coming back.
Know.
He doesn't know how he's going to feel, and et cetera, et cetera. So, what they haven't worked out is whether he's going to be cut or whether they're going to put him on the reserve retired list. So right now he's on the Bucs roster. He has another year on his contract. That's what's going to be interesting, and that to me is what they're probably negotiating at this point. So we got the $15 million payment last Friday, the deferred signing bonus money that everybody screwed up, that he wasn't going to get paid that money.
Right.
He was paid, or he was to be paid that $15 million, but he owed him $16 million in signing bonus money that he wasn't going to make in his contract for next year. So I don't know. I was on a conference call with Jason Light, the GM, and he said, we're working it with this agents and we'll work this out. So I'm sure that's all part of the negotiations of maybe they let him keep the $16 million that he owes back. So that would be basically $31 million.
Yeah.
Maybe they let him keep that and go, okay, you keep the $31 million. 15 of which he's already earned. So he has to keep that. But so basically they'd be giving him a check for $16 million. And in return, we put you on the reserve retired list as opposed to cutting you. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it makes sense to me because if I'm the Buccaneers, I don't want to cut him. If I'm Tom Brady, I want to be cut. So then if I want to come back, say Aaron Rodgers is playing for the Packers, gets hurt in week 17 or 18 next year, maybe Tom Brady says, I'll pull a Eric Weddle. I'll go back and because he's going to stay in shape.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go back and play week 18 and then play in the postseason and maybe win me another Super Bowl. So, he wants that option if he's not going back to the Buccaneers to be able to go somewhere if he decides to return. Tony Romo did that. If you remember, Cowboys still held his rights, but he wanted them to cut him, and they did. So they relinquished their rights to him, cut him. He never came back, but that opened the door for him to return to any team at any time.
That's going to be interesting to see. And I got to believe that Tom Brady, nobody expects a player to play as long as he have and at the level that he plays at. But I could see him coming back. So he had to take a look at that Bucs team and say, well, that might just not be my best opportunity. And he's keeping all the cards on the table, I think.
Yeah, and it's smart to do that. Why wouldn't you? To have an opportunity to come back to be a Brett Favre. And you're right. I was just looking at the stats the other day, and I'm like, wow, if he really goes out, he went out on top.
Yeah.
His stats are incredible this year. It's not like he went out like Peyton Manning. At least Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with it, but, he limped to the finish.
Yeah.
I mean, that team won on defense, and he just wasn't very good his last year. And a lot of those quarterbacks who play into their 40s just aren't very good their last few years. And he was great. He was absolutely great this year. I wrote Aaron Rodgers on my MVP ballot. I would have been very happy putting Tom Brady on my MVP ballot because he was that good.
He was that good. And that's kind of what surprises me, that the announcement came so soon after the season. And I know, Schefter and those guys started breaking the news, and maybe Tom wasn't ready to make an announcement. He didn't make the announcement on his own podcast even, but it felt like it was too soon after the season, unless he had decided before the start of the season, this was my last, and didn't tell anybody.
Well, and that very well could have been. I know he didn't want the victory lap, people celebrating the end of his career. So that might have been the plan all along. Or maybe Giselle pushed him to say at some point, this is enough. We're done. 22 years is enough. It's time for you to do something else. But however that played out, I don't think we'll ever know exactly whether he had it in his mind going into this season that this was going to be the last season, or something happened along the way to where he decided it was his last season. But it was pretty quick after the season that the decision was made. And if you had any doubts about whether you were going to play another year, you'd think you would have played it out a little bit longer. Now, he needed to decide before free agency starts, but he could have played it out another month.
No doubt. All right, Charean, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because Houston Texans, it's been kind of a mess down there. They hired Lovie Smith, which I think we all agree is a good hire. He's a good coach, but the way that it happened just seems ugly to me. What's your take on it?
Yeah, the process was messy.
Yeah.
No question about that. I mean, there's no doubt that they wanted to hire Josh McCown. And then when Brian Flores filed his lawsuit, that changed everything for them. And they ended up, frankly, probably better off than they would have. They ended up with a good coach. And I'm very happy for Lovie to get another chance. I know he didn't probably expect to get this second chance, third chance, fourth chance, if you want to include college.
Yeah.
Never expected to get that. I think he'll do very well in this job. He did very well in Chicago. Tampa was a little bit of a struggle, went 8-24, I think the record was. Illinois was a struggle. And they're not going to turn it around overnight, but he knows how to be successful in the NFL. And I think, Pep Hamilton will help the offense and some things that they did. But think about this. If Jack Easterby and Nick Caserio had gone to Cal McNair the day after the season ended and said, hey, we want to pay $20 million to pay off David Culley to hire Lovie Smith, you think Cal McNair is going to sign off on that? There is no possible way he's signing off on that. You could have kept David Culley if you were going to make this move, and they didn't. And if you were going to make this move, you could have done it the day after the season ended. There was no need for a search. You complied with the Rooney Rule by hiring a minority coach. So you didn't have to have this whole search. So that's why there's zero doubt that they wanted Josh McCown, and the Brian Flores lawsuit changed everything.
Was it McNair and Easterby and Caserio changing their mind, or do you think there was some pressure from Roger Goodell in the NFL office in light of the lawsuit too, dude?
Well, hopefully they're smart enough to figure out we can't do this.
Well,
now.
I don't know that they are smart enough.
I added the but there.
Yeah.
If they were smart enough, I am sure they got a phone call saying you cannot do this.
Right.
Period. You cannot do this.
And the fact that it is such a dumpster fire during the press conference today, the fire alarms are going off.
Right. Yeah. It was
the irony, right?
Par for the course.
Charean, we all know about and talking about the Brian Flores lawsuit. Obviously, there's some issues there with the hiring process. But what disturbs me even just as much as that is people or him accusing people of paying him to lose games. I mean, that really concerns me when you're talking about the integrity of the game.
Well, and I don't know if Lovie Smith was asked about this in his press conference, but he probably should have been in light of everything we're talking about, because they tanked. If you go back, that game against the Saints, they were up by 11 at halftime. They needed to lose to secure the number 1 overall pick. They absolutely tanked the game. They pulled players out of that game Josh McCown, by the way, was starting quarterback. Pull players out of that game at halftime so that they would lose the Saints. In the last week of the season, they secured the number 1 overall pick to select Jameis Winston. Now, I'm not saying Lovey was paid to do that, but I am saying tanking exists in the NFL, and that's a prime example of tanking and what we're talking about, that teams do lose to secure top draft picks. So, yeah, I mean, that's bothersome, especially where the legalization of gambling has gone and is going. I think that's very, very troubling for the league, and it's something they're going to have to investigate, and it may cost a lot of people jobs and perhaps ownership of a team.
When you think about the idea of tanking to get the number 1 pick, the way the NFL does it, the more you lose, the higher your draft pick. Mm-hmm. Does the NFL need to look at going to an NBA lottery type situation?
No question. And I think they're going to, in light of all this, I think they're going to have to do that. And I don't know why they wouldn't want to do that, because with everything else they've done, you think about the combine and all these extracurricular things that are nothingness, that the draft, the everything. Like the NFL can throw people out there, the skills competition, and they're going to light it up. So if you have this 30-minute production of, hey, who's going to get the, NBA style, think about the ratings they're going to draw for this thing. It would be incredible. So, absolutely. And I think they have to now. I don't think there's any question. I think they have to do that.
Yeah, when you look at this, and obviously Roger Goodell has got a lot of things that he's juggling right now. How do you think he's doing as the commissioner of the NFL?
No, he's got a lot of dumpster fires going right now that he's trying to put out. And tomorrow's going to be interesting in that press conference. I like him a lot. And I think he's a good people person. And I think he's a good person overall. And I think he wants to do the right thing. Sometimes it's hard to do the right thing, especially when you're answering to 32 owners. You're, as Mike Florio likes to point out, you're the pincushion for those 32 oligarchs. And they're put those, you take it for everybody. So it's hard, and it's a hard position to be in, but he's paid well to do that job. But now he's got a lot on his plate right now. And I don't know if the NFL has been in this situation before, with the Washington football team situation that's ongoing, and the Texans situation. And then what we see with the Rooney Rule and all of that stuff. I mean, and now the lawsuit with Brian Flores. So it's one crisis after another right now, and he's got to figure out how to line these crises up and get over these crises. And it's a hard place to be. I don't know if they've ever been in this position, truly.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And you go back to the Mark Cuban quote. You guys remember it probably, I don't know what it was, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when he said hogs get slaughtered.
Yeah.
You start to wonder if this is part of the hog getting slaughtered.
Well, it could be. And the NFL is by far king right now of
question.
All the professional sports. And you hate to see this because there's such a fan interest in the game. There's no question about it. But then you have these things that just kind of chip away at what they're doing.
Yeah.
But unlike baseball, all these dumpster fires isn't driving any fans away.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's more conversation.
Not.
Hell, it's great for our business.
Absolutely.
No question about that. Yeah, truly.
Charean Williams from Pro Football Talk, reader there, watcher on Peacock. So much to talk with you about, Charean, but we're running out of time. So next week we'll actually dive into the Cowboys offseason and what we think they might do. So
great.
One of these years when we're here, they're actually in the game.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
One of these years.
Yeah.
Charean, thank you for stopping by. Great seeing you at dinner. Good seeing you in person.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Charean Williams from Pro Football Talk joining us here on The Blitz.